Her Grace Urmila Mataji with all of us here. Mataji travels all around the world, and every year she is coming to Pune nowadays, and this is the first time that she is coming to ISKCON BCEC, Bhakti Center for Education and Culture. So I'll read a brief introduction of Mataji. Her Grace Urmila Devi Mataji was born in 1955 in New York City. She joined ISKCON in 1973 in Chicago. She received first initiation in 1973 and second initiation in 1975 from His Divine Grace Acharya Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. She has a doctorate in education and a master's in school administration, both from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. She has 3 decades of experience as a primary school teacher and has taught hundreds of children to read English. In 1984, she worked on a history textbook with His Grace Drishta Prabhu, and soon afterwards finished writing and compiling Vaikuntha Children, a guidebook for education. She helped start the Grahastha Vision team, which is coordinating courses and materials to strengthen marriage and the family in ISKCON North America. She is also chair of the Shastrik Advisory Council to the Governing Body Commission of ISKCON. For 10 years, she was a member of ISKCON's International Board of Education, and for 7 years was vice chairman for the North American Board. From Srila Prabhupada, she learned about traditional Indian education, culture, philosophy, Bhakti Yoga, and the stories of India's sacred literatures. She and her husband have 3 children and 14 grandchildren, and have been in the renounced order of Vanaprastha since 1996, and 2 great-grandchildren.
Yes.
Right.
Actually, unfortunately, now just 13 grandchildren. One of them died this
Oh,
year.
really? Okay. Okay.
That's okay.
Sorry. She continues to develop and teach local, national, and international seminars for trainers, educators, and managers, which she has done for over 2 decades. She has developed and taught numerous courses for primary, secondary, college, and adult learners in a wide variety of spiritual and practical subjects. She is also a feature writer, and for 30 years was an associate editor for Back to Godhead magazine. Urmila Mataji's publications include Krishna Meditations, Essence Seekers, Vaikuntha Children, a guidebook for devotional education, the Great Mantra for mystic meditation, Career Dharma, and dozens of articles, and Dr. Best Learn to Read, an 83-book complete literacy program with technology enabling the storybooks to speak in 25 languages at the touch of a special pen. So we'd like to welcome Her Grace Urmila Mataji at ISKCON BCEC by once chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. We'll also have our books on display at the back. So after the lecture, those who wish, can please procure those books. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you very much for such a wonderful welcome. Thank you. And we go until what time? Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana
Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Asatara Satyashri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Shikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai Mathura Dhama Ki Jai Navadvip Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki Jai Gangamaya Jamuna Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Gaur Premanande All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatyade Satarane Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatham Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Vanchakalpachubhascha Kipasandabhyeva Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So it's October 17th, 2023. And are we still in Pune or where are we? We're still in Pune. Okay. And we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, The Lord in the Heart, Text 2. 222, right? Yeah? Okay. So nice when you have this, then nobody has to write everything on the board anymore. Right? Sabhasya hi brahmana esha panta. Yanam abhirdayati dir apartai. Pari brahman satra navindate ritan. Maya maye vasanaya shayana. Please chant. Shabdasya, of the Vedic sound. He, certainly, Brahmanha, of the Vedas. Eshaha, these, Pantaha, the way. Yet, what is? Namabihi, by different names. Jayati, ponders. Dhi, intelligence. Apartahai, by meaningless ideas. Paribrahman, wandering. Tatra, there. Na, never. Vindate, enjoys. Artan, reality. Maya Mai, in illusory things. Vasanaya, by different desires. Shayanaha, as if dreaming in sleep. Srila Prabhupada's translation: the way of presentation of the Vedic sounds is so bewildering that it directs the intelligence of the people to meaningless things like the heavenly kingdoms. The conditioned souls hover in dreams of such heavenly illusory pleasures, but actually they do not relish any tangible happiness in such places. Srila Prabhupada's purport: the conditioned soul is always engaged in laying out plans for happiness within the material world, even up to the end of the universal limit. He is not even satisfied with available amenities on this planet Earth, where he has exploited the resources of nature to the best of his ability. He wants to go to the moon. Did you guys just all go to the moon? He wants to go to the moon or the planet Venus to exploit resources there. Now that we've used up all the Earth resources, let's go use up all the moon resources. And then let's use up all the Venus resources. You know, when I was very young, I think I was 6 when they had the first, man orbiting spacecraft, because I remember writing in my copybook in school, John Glenn, John Glenn, John Glenn. That was the man who went around in orbit. And I was told that by the time I was 15 or 20, that we would be living on the moon. And I was 6 years old. I believed that, and I was all excited about it. But the Lord has warned us in the Bhagavad Gita 8:16 about the worthlessness of all the innumerable planets of this universe, as well as all those planets within other systems. So what is 8:16? Anybody know? You want to say it with me? Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartinor mam upecha tukonteya puna janma nivijjate. There are innumerable universes and also innumerable planets in each of them. That's a lot. Any of you ever seen pictures, like drawings of how many stars, planets are in this universe? And this is supposed to be a small universe. Lord Brahma only has 4 heads here. Some of the other universes, he has 10 million heads, because there's 10 million directions. So if there's all these universes, how many different living conditions must there be? But none of them is immune to the chief miseries of material existence, namely the pangs of birth, the pangs of death, the pangs of old age, and the pangs of disease. The Lord says that even the topmost planet, known as the Brahmaloka or Satyaloka, and what to speak of other planets, like the heavenly planets, is not a happy land for residential purposes due to the presence of material pangs, as above mentioned. Conditioned souls are strictly under the laws of fruitive activity, and as such, they sometimes go up to Brahmaloka and again come down to Patalaloka, as if they were unintelligent children on a merry-go-round. Did you all go on a merry-go-round when you were a child? The real happiness is in the kingdom of God, where no one has to undergo the pangs of material existence. Therefore, the Vedic ways of fruitive activities for the living entities are misleading. One thinks of a superior way of life in this country or that, or on this planet or another, but nowhere in the material world can he fulfill his real desire of life, namely eternal life, full intelligence, and complete bliss. Indirectly, Srila Sukadeva Goswami affirms that Maharaj Pariksit, in the last stages of life, should not desire to transfer himself to the so-called heavenly planets, but should prepare himself for going back home, back to Godhead. None of the material planets, nor the amenities available there for living conditions, is everlasting. Therefore, one must have a factual reluctance to enjoy such temporary happinesses as they afford. Shabdasya hi brahmana esha panta ya nama bir dayati dir apartai pari brahmans tatra naviddate ritan maya maye vasanaya shayanaha. The way of presentation of the Vedic sounds is so bewildering that it directs the intelligence of the people to meaningless things like the heavenly kingdoms. The conditioned souls hover in dreams of such heavenly illusory pleasures, but actually they do not relish any tangible happiness in such places. Well, so it's not going to work out, is it? It's just not. It doesn't matter where you live, what job you have, who you marry, whether you don't get married, whether you have children, whether you don't have children, whether you're very rich, whether you're not very rich, whether you don't know how to read or whether you have 5 PhDs and an MD. You're not going to make it, folks. Just doesn't matter. And if you think, well, it's not so great here, but maybe it'll be better on another planet. That's fine. Just like wherever I go in the world, I see so many people from India hoping I'm going to be happier in America, or in Germany or something like that. And what do they say? Wherever you go, there you are. It just doesn't work. And we don't understand why it doesn't work. It seems like it should work. I see on the billboard these beautiful pictures that if I just live in this apartment complex, I'll be happy. We saw many of them on the way here. Live here and all of your desires will be fulfilled. I thought, oh, that's interesting. Move to this country, do this thing, go here, go there. And my dear friends, all of us have been trying this for a very long time. We hear this and we're like, yeah, but how convinced are we really? We've been trying it for a very, very, very long time. If I just make this adjustment, if I just make this adjustment, if I just make this adjustment, then I will be satisfied. And sometimes, you make a little adjustment and it does help, right? So we get some hope. Like we think, oh, I moved the chair from this part of the room to that part of the room, and my life got so much better. That actually happens, right? It happens. You just move a piece of furniture around and you're like, wow, what a difference that makes. This happened to me where I stay now in North Carolina, so I just have a little room at the temple that they gave me during lockdown, and then they very kindly decided that I could stay there for the rest of my life. So the entranceway, you get the dirt from the outside, and so I had a little mat there, but it wasn't the right size. And it was always, I'd try to come in and try to step on the mat, get the dirt on the mat, and it was always a problem. And then I spent just $15 finally to buy a bigger mat. And it was like, wow, what an improvement in my quality of life. Seriously, it was. I could just walk into my room and not have to do this little dance to take my shoes off. And because of things like that, we think, well, if that works, then surely there's some adjustment I can make, right? There's somehow, it's got to be something I can do to move around or manipulate the material energy so that I'll be happy and satisfied. I just have to find the right rug, or the right place to go. We really tend to think it's by geography. All right, now I'm going to tell you something that you might not want to hear, that we might also think going to the spiritual world is a matter of geography. We might think, well, okay, based on this purport, the reason I'm unhappy is birth, death, old age, and disease. For those of you who are young, I will tell you, old age is not fun. It really isn't. There's a few things about it that are nice, and a few things about it I appreciate. But mostly it's miserable. It's like you get a notice, sorry, your subscription to that program has expired and cannot be renewed, and you're like, how come I can't do this anymore? It's bizarre. And we all know that disease is miserable, right? And many of us might say, oh yes, I'm ready to die. There was one devotee recently in Hawaii who had some kind of heart attack or something, and he had on his living will, do not resuscitate, like that. But when he actually had a heart attack, he was like, I want to live. So we might say, well, fine, I get to die. But we're attached, actually. We're attached to our $15 rug. We're attached to our conception of ourself. I am this kind of a person. I am that kind of a person. I come from this family. I have this education. Can you all understand my English at this speed? Am I okay at this speed? I'm about 70-80% of my normal speed, which is quite fast for non-native speakers. Are you okay with this? Okay. And my American accent is okay? Okay. I was someplace in the world once where they said, we have to translate your American English into Indian English. So often we think, well, if I just go to the place where there's no birth, death, old age, and disease, which is the spiritual world, then I'll be happy. I just have to get the right airplane. I just have to go to the right gate. One time I was in St. Petersburg. I was supposed to take a flight to Moscow, and they gave me a handwritten boarding pass in Russian, and all the signs were in Russian. I mean, in most airports, there's English. Usually I'm very proud. I'm a native English speaker, and every place there's English, but there wasn't any there, and I couldn't read any signs, and all the announcements were in Russian. And I didn't know where to go, and when I asked somebody, they said, wait, and I thought they said, Kuwait, and I got really nervous. And finally when I got on the plane, I didn't really know if I was going to go to Moscow or not. I just didn't know. And I'm sitting on the plane thinking, Krishna, I hope I'm going to some interesting place here. So, we might think it's just a matter, and I did go to Moscow, it worked out all right. But we might just think, well, I just have to get to the right gate. I have to get to the Vaikuntha gate, to the Goloka Vrindavan gate. I have to make sure I don't go to the Brahmaloka gate and the Swargaloka gate. And I'll just go there, and then there's no birth, death, old age, and disease, and there's no adhyatmic, nadi-daivik, and nadi-bautic, right? My body won't fail me anymore. My mind won't fail me anymore. My friends and family won't betray me anymore. There won't be bad weather. But it's very interesting, some of the points that we see here. Srila Prabhupada uses this word exploiting and exploitation. If we're thinking, I'm going to go to the spiritual world where I can also be exploitive, I'll go there to enjoy it. We won't go there. They won't let us go. When Prabhupada talks about the higher planets, he often gives the example, which he had a lot of experience with, that when you want to go to a foreign country, you have to get a visa. You have to get stamped at immigration. I mean, even if you have the right passport, and even if you have the right visa, you know it's up to that immigration officer if they let you in or not. They're not obligated. Right? On my first trip to Ireland, I said, they had this huge stamp. It's like half a passport page size. And I said, could you please stamp kind of in the corner? And he looked at me and said, I don't have to stamp your passport at all. And I thought, oops. He said, what are you doing in Ireland? Why do you want to come? I said, well, I have friends in Ireland. Are they Irish? Yes. What's their name? Shamananda. So, he did let me in. He said, that doesn't sound very Irish. And I'm like, I don't know his legal name. They have to let you in. Right? You can't just say, chanted my 16 rounds every day, followed the 4 regular principles, woke up early in the morning, only ate Krishna prasadam. Hey, where's my ticket? It's not like that. Most religions think that's exactly what it's like. We were recently in Bahrain and traveling with my grandson. He's someplace else right now. I'm not sure what he's seeing, something else in Pune. Anyway, we went to the Grand Mosque in Bahrain, which, by the way, if you've been to the Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi, the Grand Mosque in Bahrain is nothing. But anyway, we went there. And in the Grand Mosque in Bahrain, they just use it as an excuse to indoctrinate you with Islam. At least in Abu Dhabi, they just let you walk around. But in Bahrain, they sit you down and they give you a whole philosophy of Islam. Which was interesting. I was glad that we went, because I know a lot about Christianity and Judaism and Buddhism, but not that much about Islam. So it was very interesting. And she was saying, we want to go to Allah's kingdom, and there we will get rewarded according to what we did on earth. And I thought, oh, karma kanda. You want to go to a material heaven where you're going to, but you think you're going to stay there forever, and you're thinking, I'm going to earn my way to that heaven. It was also interesting to me that she said there's 3 questions asked and how you answer them determines on whether or not you're let in. So I also thought that was very interesting. Who is God? Who do you accept as a prophet, and how did you live your life? It's an exam, I thought it's not. We don't read like that. We don't read like the Vishnu Dutas come to pick up Dhruva Maharaj and they say, okay, now we have an exam for you to fill out. So they're thinking it's very mechanical. You have to believe the right thing. This is what I believe. Okay, fine. You have to believe the right thing and you have to do the right thing. But that kind of mentality is still exploitive, isn't it? It's still very me-centered. Ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. You're a fool. You think I'm the doer. Unfortunately, even in the Hare Krishna movement, there are many people who approach bhakti like that. That it's some kind of a machine, that if I just tick off all the boxes and I do the right thing, then I'm going to go to Goloka Vrindavan, and then all of my problems will be solved. Of course, this reason for wanting to go back to Godhead is among the 4 reasons for the neophyte devotees to be free of distress. And it's interesting that most of us are more motivated, this is what scientific studies show, by wanting to be free of distress than by gaining happiness. So we may think, okay, I want to be free of distress, but then we miss the whole point completely. So although these purports are very important in order for us to understand that we're not going to ever be happy just by going to a different country or a different planet or moving around our furniture or buying a new mat or something like that, or getting married, or being a renunciate, or doing this or doing that really going to Goloka Vrindavan is a very different matter. Now, on the one hand, it is a geographical thing. There are airplanes that come from the spiritual world that take the living entity to the spiritual world. This is very nicely described by Srila Sanatana Goswami in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, where Gopakumar takes many trips to the spiritual world, for those of you who've read that. So sometimes he just like appears places, and other times he goes in an airplane or he travels places. No? So that's true. We, the soul, are in a geographical location, and to go to Goloka Vrindavan, we change our position. Of course, that's not exactly true, because time and space are the beginning of material illusion. When Mahavishnu first creates the material world, he does it with his glance, and his glance is time. Also Lord Shiva. And time, there was a wonderful article many years ago by my godbrother Mathuresh about time, how the Bhagavatam doesn't give us any sense organ to perceive time. And nobody really knows what time is. We talk about time as the movement of one thing measured against the movement of something else. And we're told over and over again that in the spiritual reality, time is conspicuous by its absence, that there simply is not time. And then in the creation, the secondary part of the first creation, the Lord from his ears creates space, sound and space. And our concepts of space are very different from real space. So my late godbrother Sadaputra Prabhu, who was a great scientist, a member of the Bhaktivedanta Institute, he likes to give the example of Krishna's view of space versus our view of space. And he tells the story that's told in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Lord Brahma wants to go see Lord Vishnu. And he comes within the material universe to the Lord's abode. And the doorkeepers come, "Who are you?" "I'm Lord Brahma." Like, isn't that kind of obvious? Okay, well, we'll tell Lord Vishnu, we'll tell Lord Narayan. So they go and tell Lord Vishnu, and he says, "Ask him which Lord Brahma." And they come back, "Which Lord Brahma?" And he's like, "What?" He said, the creator of the universe, the father of the four Kumaras. "Okay, come on in, come on in." And then Lord Brahma comes and he sees Lord Vishnu and he says, "Why did your doorkeepers ask me which Lord Brahma?" Imagine if Modi comes and, "So who are you?" "I'm Modi." "Which Modi?" He says, "Why did they ask me this?" And the Lord called the Brahmas of all the universes. And our Lord Brahma, who has 4 heads, he saw, Lord Brahma with 10 heads and 10,000 heads and 100,000 and 10 million heads. And then Lord Vishnu says, "Are you all doing well?" "Yes, Lord, by your mercy." "Are the demons being defeated?" "Yes, Lord, by your mercy." "Well, you may go." But what's interesting is that it's explained that each Lord Brahma thought that Lord Vishnu was in his universe. Only our Lord Brahma could see what was going on. Can you explain this in terms of space? If you're thinking in terms of space, they're in one place, but they're not. Everybody's in one room, but they're not. How does he do that? Or another example I really like that Sadaputa likes to give is how it says that within the Lord is the whole universe, right? Mother Yasoda looks, she sees the whole universe. And the Lord, Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam, is also within every atom. So let's try to picture this. Okay. So the whole universe is in Krishna. Can you picture this? Yeah, okay. Very good. Can you picture the Lord is within every atom? Okay, very good. So now the Lord's in every atom, and within every atom where there's the Lord, the universe is inside him. And inside him there's every atom, which is he's in, and inside him there. Can you do that? No. So what is space? What does space mean to Krishna? It obviously, the actual situation of space and how we understand space is completely different. So if we want to say going back to Godhead means some geographical space-time change, that's true, but it's obviously not true as well. Now, a little way one can understand it's not true is looking at this verse, Shayana, as if they're dreaming. I had a talk with a former member of our Shastric Advisory Council, Madan Mahan Prabhu, and we were talking about this geographical thing, and he said, when you're dreaming, where are you geographically? He said, we are all within the dream of Mahavishnu. Where are we exactly? And the Bhagavatam compares, if we want to get into a real, which I'm not going to do, a big controversial question on how and where and when and why did the jiva fall into illusion. So there's 3 times in the Bhagavatam when that question is asked directly, when there's a direct question. In the 2nd canto, 3rd canto, and 11th canto, where there's a direct question. How did the pure jiva get into illusion? And all the answers say that the jiva is not an illusion. It's an illusion that the jiva is in an illusion. That's the answer all 3 times. You know, I really like the answer in the 3rd canto where it says, it's like seeing your head cut off in a dream. That's the answer. Now let's move on to something else. That's it, you know? And when Krishna answers the question in the 11th canto, he just says, when you're liberated, there's no meaning to being liberated or being conditioned. In each case, they just say it's a dreaming condition. So going back to Godhead means, yes, it does mean changing where we are so that externally we're not experiencing birth, death, old age, and disease, adi-admic, adi-adaivic, adi-bhotic. That's true. But much more than that, it means changing our what? Our consciousness. You know, this book I have here, Krishna Meditations, which is how to see Krishna in the water, in the sun, and the ocean. And I was very motivated to work on this from one lecture where Prabhupada says that if you see everything as related to Krishna, there's no more material world. And there's one class where he says that 3 times. He says if you see everything as part of the body of God, then there's no more material world, there's no more material world, there's no more material world. So what's the difference? The difference, again, is this exploitive. Why don't I see that Krishna is the light of the sun here? Why aren't I aware of that? Why aren't I aware that when I'm breathing the prana of the Lord? Why am I not conscious of that? Because I don't want to be. Why do I not want to be? Because I want to exploit. Just like, you know, sometimes you're in some place and you see something that's not yours, that you really want, and you may convince yourself that it doesn't belong to anybody at all. Yes, have we all done this? At least when we were children. I assume we've all done this at least once. There was something there, whatever it was. Oh, somebody, should I tell you this story? Somebody once did that to me with a plate of prasadam. Should I tell you? It's kind of embarrassing. So, I was in Puerto Rico, and it was a Kadasi, and I was doing a nirjal and a staying up all night. And at lunch, they served exactly the kind of prasadam that I knew would be really nice to break my fast the next day. So I wrapped it up really carefully in several plates, and I wrapped it up, and I put a sign on it, Urmila's, hands off, And I put it in the prasadam refrigerator. And that evening, we went and did a university program. So we got back maybe 11 o'clock at night. And as soon as we got back, I go and I check. Still there. I said, okay, now I'm going to go chant. So I chanted the rest of the night. And then, okay, now it's the morning, go to Mangalarti. Oh, it's time now. Open it up, it's gone. I mean, I took that as a lesson from Krishna. Don't be meditating on the food while you're fasting. But I couldn't understand it. It's like it had my name on it. And finally, I was disturbed by this. I did a whole detective thing, Finally, I found out what happened. That some of the devotees who'd gone to the program with me, come back also 11:30, and one of them was hungry. And the two of them went together and they look in the refrigerator, and one of them says, well, it says Urmila's name on it. And the other one says, well, if she hasn't eaten it by now, surely she doesn't want it. So this is what we're doing in this world. We're saying, it belongs to nobody. It's got Krishna's name everywhere. Krishna, 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 Krishna. And we're going, well, he probably doesn't. It's not really here. I can just take it and exploit it. This is why we see the world as material. Krishna Book, chapter 20, Prabhupada says, Maya exists only within the mind. Wow. Maya exists only within the mind. Maya means what is Krishna defined as Maya in the Chatur Shloki of the Bhagavatam. Anything that appears to be of value, if it is without relation to me, it has no reality. Know it to be my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. When I see things that I think, this has value, but it doesn't have a relationship with Krishna. It's not part of Krishna. Therefore, I can take it and use it as I like. And of course, the main thing that we think this way about is our own body and mind. We think this is my body. I can do with it as I like. Right? That's what the pro-abortionists say. Well, it's the woman's body. She can do with it as she likes. And we say, but the baby's body is not the woman's body. But thinking like this, it's mine. It's my body. It's my house. It's my car. It's my scooter. It's my shoes. It's mine. My family. I worked for it. I earned it. I deserve it. And I can now do with it as I like. And as soon as we are exploitive, see, Krishna doesn't like to be exploited. Do any of you like to be exploited? Anybody want to be exploited? Anybody here want to be seen as an object of someone else's exploitation? No. But Krishna's very nice, right? Nityanam chaitanas chaitanam eko bhaganam yo vidadanti kaman. He's like, you want to exploit me? Fine. See the universe as matter. See it as dead. See it as your exploitable object. You will not be able to see me or experience me. But when you see the universe as dead, you will suffer because you're seeing it wrongly. It's not dead. The universe is a living organism. Kunti calls Krishna a personality of the form of the universe. I mean, this chair is dead in the sense that this chair is not aware of itself. But Krishna is aware of the chair, and he's not aware of the chair like I am. I can see the chair and I can touch the chair. This is part of his universal body. Do you understand? Just like the ends of my fingernails and the ends of my hair are dead, and that there's no separate jivas that experience their existence. Whereas with my living skin, there are cells that experience their existence. But I experience the dead parts of my fingernails and the dead parts of my hair, correct? If you touch my hair, I'm aware. So Krishna is aware, this is part of his body, and he's aware. But when we want to be exploitive, we don't perceive him. And when we don't perceive him, we perceive material miseries. In one sense, you could say material miseries are objective facts. We were all born. We will all die. We all get sick. I'm not sure if it's a fortune to live long enough to get old or not, but if you are fortunate or unfortunate, however you want to think about it, you will experience old age. Someone said to me the other day, Urmila, may you not experience old age? And I said, well, what exactly does that mean? So that looks like objective facts. You know, you break your leg, it's an objective fact and it hurts. But you know what? Whether or not you experience it as pain is not an objective fact. Have you ever gone through something that was objectively difficult and you just didn't experience it as difficult? Have you ever been in a situation that was objectively wonderful and you didn't experience it as wonderful because you had a different state of mind? If you're in a lot of distress, you can have a good meal with good friends and the sun is shining and you're miserable. And if you're really happy, people can be insulting you and you just don't care. And I've always been fascinated by Bhagavad Gita 6:20 to 23, where Krishna says that when you see the self, you relish and rejoice in the self, you think there's nothing more to be gained, and you are not disturbed even by the greatest misery. So that means, while in one sense, you're geographically here in a physical body that's undergoing birth, death, old age, and disease, adi daivik, adi atmik, adi bautik, your consciousness is not here. There's also a really interesting quote in Krishna book, chapter 20, where Prabhupada says, materialists see the world as very aggressive, whereas to the devotees, everything is happily situated. And sometimes when I repeat that, devotees will say to me, I think you have that wrong. I think it's in reverse. I think the materialists think everything is happy, and the devotees see everything as aggressive. And I'm like, then why do you want to be a devotee? If we're actually conscious of Krishna everywhere, and we see that Krishna is everywhere, and we're experiencing that Krishna is everywhere, would we be exploitive? No. And of course, it's a circle. The more you change the exploitive mentality with a service mentality, the more you see that things are actually Krishna. And the more you see that things are actually Krishna, the more you develop a service mentality. And the more that you develop a service mentality, the more you see that things are actually Krishna. And then the actual transfer to the spiritual world, it doesn't mean that much in one sense. You're already in the spiritual world. Your consciousness is already absorbed. And that's the ticket. And the things that we do, our chanting, our japa, our gayatri, our worshiping the deity, our eating prasadam, are not mechanical means by which we're earning our ticket. They're means of changing our consciousness. And another very important word in this verse here is vasanaya, vasana. Prabhupada's translating this by different desires. It's a very, very important word, vasana. And there's a similar word used in Bhagavad Gita 12:9, where Krishna is talking to Arjuna about, if you can't do this, do this. If you can't do this, do this. So in 12:8, he said, always think of me with love, which Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur says is a description of Raganuga sadhana. And then he says, if you can't do this, practice yoga. The Sanskrit is abhyas yoga, which Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur says is a description of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. And he says, if you do abhyas yoga, you'll develop icha. You'll develop desire, which is very much like a vasana. I want to serve Krishna. I want to love Krishna. I don't want to exploit Krishna. Because I care about him. Not because I'm reciting the 10 offenses and I don't want to commit offenses because then I won't go back to Godhead where I will enjoy. Not like that. But because I really care about him. And I don't want to do anything that's going to cause him any kind of distress. And I only want to please him. And as my desires start to change, my view of reality changes, and we start to we start to wake up from this dream. We start to wake up from this shayana. And then, although it may look externally to others that in this world we're still going through material miseries, we just don't experience them as miseries. Wouldn't that be nice? Yes? So this is the goal that Srila Prabhupada's pointing us to. Now, yes, it's worth it to buy a new mat for your entranceway. We're not saying don't do that. Making some material adjustments is a practical and reasonable thing. You know, if you cut your finger, put a bandage on it. I mean, well, this is all a dream anyway. I'll just chant Hare Krishna, you know. So we are supposed to do that. We have a service to take care of this body and this mind and the other jivas that have been entrusted to us. If we have such jivas as family or friends or other people we're responsible for, we have some responsibility to take care of our living facilities. But that's not where we should be investing our desires. We should be investing our desires. How can I change my desires? How can I change my mentality? Am I chanting? Am I worshiping? Am I serving in a way that my desires are changing? Am I starting to see Krishna everywhere? Am I starting to experience Krishna everywhere? Am I growing in my love for Krishna? Am I growing in my desire to serve him and his devotees? These should be the things that we look at and that we're trying to cultivate. Otherwise, we run the risk of being what happens to every other religion in the world, where some great soul comes and teaches people to love God, and gradually they make it some materialistic thing. Yeah? All right? Questions, comments, additions, subtractions, chastisements? I get them sometimes, might as well ask for them. Yes? Do we have traveling mics? Okay. Thank you so much for taking care of me, by the way. It's really appreciated.
Hare
Must be a
Krishna.
little awkward to sit there. Yes?
Thank you, Mataji. I wanted to know how can we change the Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti into Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti?
Ooh.
Would it ever happen?
Ooh. That's a good question. Well, the way it's usually described by our acharyas is that it changes when you get a specific greed for a specific way to serve Krishna. When that awakens spontaneously. And the main way that awakens spontaneously, as Srila Prabhupada describes, following the description of Srila Rupa Goswami, is primarily by hearing. So Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada's description of this also is, as one hears different pastimes, one may awaken that greed. Now that's not an intellectual thing. It's not like you say, well, those are nice pastimes and that's supposed to be the best thing, so I think that's what I want. It's not like that. It's a spontaneous feeling. One could compare it materially, because there are material reflections of all of the rasas. So just like sometimes you meet someone and you get a feeling, I want to be this person's friend, yeah? Or I remember I was in South Africa and there was a devotee couple running a restaurant in a little preaching center in a restaurant, and the wife was always cooking because it was a restaurant. You know, and so she was like all day long, she's in the kitchen, and she was so happy. She was just like beaming in the kitchen. And she was working so hard. And at like the second or third day, I looked at her and I just had this feeling, I want to help her. I want to serve her. It wasn't an intellectual thing. My mother told me to be helpful. It wasn't like that. It was just natural. And everyone experiences this with romantic feelings. Oh, look at that girl, you know. And it just comes. It's not like you would, well, I'm a male, that's a female, and she's my, it's not like that. It's spontaneous. So at a certain point that arises. It's emotional. So when does it arise? Prabhupada said usually it arises somewhere near the end of anartha nivritti. And Prabhupada describes that as like 50% of your anarthas are cleared. If you look at Madhurya Kadambini from Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, it kind of looks like 40%. So, you know, enough of the Cheto Darpana Marjanam has happened. So, like if you have a really dirty mirror and you're really cleaning it, and at a certain point enough of the mirror is clean so that you can see yourself. I mean, it can happen at any time, but generally it doesn't happen until the end of anartha nivritti. It can happen, I mean, if someone was very advanced in another lifetime, or sometimes, you know, like Srila Rupa Goswami talks about how you can achieve a bhava abhas, and abhas is a shadow or reflection of bhava. If you're in the association of a great soul, or you're in a holy place, or it's a festival, and Srila Prabhupada specifically says that you can take that bhava abhas and make it real bhava. That doesn't usually happen. So, and Bhanu Swami talks about this sometimes. He said you don't have to go through all the stages. You can, even if you're a neophyte, that can happen, but that's unusual. And when this awakens, the devotees almost always feel unqualified. That's one of the signs that it's genuine. If they think, well, I've been chanting so long, naturally now I know I'm a cowherd boy. No. Sorry. That's not, then it's not real. You know, one of the ways you know it's real is that people will go, where did that come from? I'm not qualified. I'm still so fallen. It can't be real. But it won't go away. I mean, it can go away if you really offend devotees. I mean, if you really, really, really want it to go away, you know, go beat up some devotees and it will go away. But it stays and it changes how one views everything. So the main differences between Raganuga sadhana and Vaidhi sadhana, first of all, the motive is different. In Vaidhi sadhana, you're mostly motivated by logic. some taste. Rupa Goswami says even in the beginning there's some taste. But when he talks about the adhikar for Vaidhi sadhana, the adhikar is knowledge and faith in Shastra. So depending on how much knowledge and faith you have in Shastra, depends on your adhikar for Vaidhi, because Vaidhi is according to the Vidhi, which is in the Shastra. So the more you believe the Shastra and the more you know the Shastra, the more qualified you are to follow the Shastra, right? Duh. So in Vaidhi, the main motive, there's some taste, but the main motive is intellectual understanding and fear. If I don't follow the Shastra, I won't go back to Godhead, and then I'll have to come back and have birth, death, old age, and disease. So that's the main driving force. And you'll find people, especially really on that platform, talk a lot about how miserable the material world is. And that's their main focus. So the motive changes. You start being motivated more by, I want to love Krishna as a friend, or I want to love Krishna as my child, or I want to love Krishna in this way. And that's what starts driving. And Prabhupada says it's gradual and proportional. So the motive starts changing. And then the practice of Raganuga sadhana differs from Vaidhi only in two ways. So that one particularly meditates on the personalities and the activities that are similar to oneself, to nourish that. And then one particularly engages in the practices of bhakti that nourish one's own rasa. So before that, one engages in the activities of bhakti, especially that are in line with one's psychophysical nature. And then in Raganuga, one more and more practices the angas of bhakti that are in line with one's swarup. And then as one does that, one becomes fixed, and one develops a taste, and one develops attachment, and so forth. How can you speed up the process? Well, you can't entirely, because it's by invitation only. You're either invited or you're not. But how can you, what does Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati say? Don't try to see God, but act in such a way that God will want to see you. Behave in such a way that He's going to want to send you an invitation. How do you do that? So this is a whole other class, and it's 9:04. But we'll just say very briefly that this means to be excited about being a willing, enthusiastic participant in the anartha-nivritti process. Nobody wants to do that. They all want to get the invitation without dealing with their false ego. Doesn't work. Just won't work. Sorry. Most religionists in the world are just adushrada, you know. I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I believe in God. What do you do about it? Nothing. I go to church on Christmas or something. And most people are at adushrada. Then there's sadhu sangha, where you actually start changing your association. And then there starts to be a price. Materialistic people might say, I don't want to be with you anymore. And so people turn around and go back. Then a smaller percentage go on to bhajana kriya, where you actually do some regular spiritual practice. Very few people do that. You know, of all the Muslims, how many pray 5 times a day? It's a small percentage. Of all the people that come to our temples on Janmashtami, how many people offer all their food and chant 16 rounds? Of all the devotees who've taken initiation, how many chant 16 rounds? So there's a small percentage who actually do bhajana kriya. Okay. Then there's an even smaller percentage who, by doing bhajana kriya, when they start going through anartha-nivritti, decide they want to keep going. So you have this bulk of people who do bhajana kriya, anista bhajana kriya, and they don't want to go through anartha-nivritti, and so they keep all their anarthas, and they give practicing religionists a bad name all over the world. You know, anartha-nivritti means you have to be willing to see the truth. actually. Let's be willing to see the truth, to believe it, and to act on it. So most of us really don't want to do that. Krishna, would you please show me the truth about myself? And I will believe it, and I will act on it. We don't realize that it's actually a wonderful, liberating process. But it is also painful, because our false ego is being pulled away, and we think the false ego is ourself. So if you would like to speed up your likelihood of getting your invite in the mail, be enthusiastic about anartha nivritti. And if you can't be enthusiastic about anartha nivritti, pray to Krishna that he give you the courage to be enthusiastic about anartha nivritti. If you can go to Krishna and say, please show me the truth about myself, and I will accept it, and I will act on it. And if just saying that terrifies you, don't say it artificially, because he'll show you that you're saying it artificially. And I've done that twice, and don't do that. Just don't do that. But if you find that you're really afraid of doing that, then say, my dear Krishna, please give me the courage to ask you to show me the truth about myself. So, if you're really interested in this topic, so I'm very blessed that the VIHE asked me to teach the entire Nectar devotion, and so I went quite deeply into Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and that's all recorded. I mean, it's long. Each class was 2 hours long. So there's a lot of videos, and they're long, but hopefully they're fun, and I have PowerPoints and stuff. And so that's on my YouTube channel. If you go to Nectar Devotion Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and we discuss all of these, if you would like to go more deeply into this topic. Another thing is that I was very fortunate to be asked to produce the translation of Srila Raganuga Swami's Srimana Shiksha. We don't have any copies here, unfortunately, but they are available from Golden Age Media, and they're available on Amazon. And that's a step-by-step process for practicing Raganuga sadhana. So I produced that, and I also have classes on my YouTube channel on Srimana Shiksha. So I've given a 7-8 minute synopsis here, but if you're interested in the topic, then I would refer you to that. Okay, so I was told we have till 9:15, yeah, so we have time for 2 questions. Few. This was an ongoing argument between my husband and myself. What is the meaning of few? I would say few means 3. And he said, but the Marines advertise, we are looking for a few good men. And that's not 3. This was on for our whole Grahastha life. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll take a few. Yes.
All of us are part of several material duties. So how can we inculcate an attitude of, like when we are doing our duties in the material world, how can we inculcate an attitude of serving Krishna while we are doing our duties in the material world?
Why are you doing material duties in the material world?
As in, like, we have a family and we have duties towards our family members. If somebody's in a job,
Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur says that you are the owner of my house. My family members are all your servants, and I am earning money to take care of them for you. Is that okay? You can think that your husband is the temple president and you are the temple commander, and your children are the ashram residents. Or also, because sometimes our family members are not even devotees, so I like to talk about the secret agent principle. Would you like to hear the secret agent principle? Yeah? Okay. So one devotee told me the other day that her granddaughter was going to Korea. I said, South Korea? So let's say you are a spy and you are going to North Korea. You're an Indian military spy. So you don't go to the North Korean immigration and say, hi, I'm a spy. You go there to be a car salesman or something. You have a cover. You follow? The spies, they all have a cover. I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're not anybody's son or daughter or husband or wife or mother or father. We are not bankers. We are not IT people or physicians. We're a soul. And as a soul, we work for Krishna's company. And what's his product? What's he selling? What's Krishna selling? Well, that's, yeah. Krishna Prema. Nice business. You get to eat it too, not just sell it. So we work for Krishna's company. We're selling Krishna Prema. And everyone we meet, either they're a supervisor in the Krishna Prema company, or they're a colleague, or they're a customer, or they're a potential customer. Maybe right now they shop at the Illusion Mall. And this other thing is a cover. I'm this person's daughter, I'm this person's wife, I'm this person's mother, I'm a banker, I'm a software engineer. That's a cover story. That's all. Therefore, this is deep, okay? This is really deep. And if you get this, you'll be very happy in life. But I have classes where I spend like 20 minutes on this. Don't try to please your husband. Try to please Krishna. Prabhupada wrote a letter to Acharya about this. So what do I mean by that? So let's say I'm trying to impress you, right? But I'm talking to you. But I'm talking to you trying to impress you. Have we all done this? Right? I'm dealing with one person, but actually I'm trying to impress somebody else. Correct? Now we do this with Krishna too. We're like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Are all the devotees seeing how nicely I'm chanting? Right? We're serving Krishna trying to impress everybody else. Reverse it. Deal with everyone to try to impress Krishna. Take care of your husband so Krishna will be happy. Will your husband always be happy? No. Not possible. It's impossible. You know, he comes home on Monday, you make lasagna, and he says, oh, my favorite food. So you make it on Tuesday, and he says, 2 days in a row? You cannot. It's a point Prabhupada makes over and over and over and over and over. You cannot fully please another jiva. But you can fully please Krishna. Serve your parents, serve your husband, your wife, your children, your employer, your employees, everybody, not as a material duty. Don't do it because I am the daughter. I am the son. And you'll suffer. Because if you're thinking, I'm taking care of my parents because I want to be a dutiful son, will your parents always think that you're the perfect son or the perfect daughter? Is that possible? No. And then you'll be devastated. Will you always think you're the perfect son or the perfect daughter? No. Oh, I didn't do that right. I didn't do that right. You'll be constantly putting expectations on yourself and on others that are impossible to fulfill. You will never be the perfect daughter, the perfect son, the perfect mother, the perfect father, the perfect husband, the perfect wife, the perfect programmer, the perfect anything. Will you? Anybody? Is that going to happen? Will we ever become perfect as Kali Yuga humans? Is that going to happen? I don't think so. And then we're so distressed. But as a soul, I'm already perfect. I don't really have to do anything about it. It's not dependent on anyone's opinion of me or my opinion of me at all, or anything. I'm already perfect. So just start acting as a soul. Now, what's interesting is if you're taking care of your children to make Krishna happy, you'll be a much better mother than if you're taking care of your children to make your children happy. Does this make sense, why that would be so? If you're just trying to make your children happy, will your children always be happy with you? No, they just won't. If you think they will, you're wrong. Are you always happy with your parents? I mean, come on. But Krishna can always be happy, because Krishna's happy with your intention and your effort, not just the result. Come on, he's happy with Putana. I mean, come on. That's a very low bar. You follow? That's a really, really, really low bar. He's happy with, come on, can we do it well as Putana? I think so. Then you don't have any more material duties. Okay? Get rid of all your material duties. That doesn't mean you leave your family and you go to the Himalayas. That's what Arjuna kept thinking. He kept thinking, all right, if I leave all abominable actions and perform Buddha yoga, then I walk away from the battlefield and I leave my family, right? He thought that, and he kept pushing like that. Finally, Krishna's like, okay, fine. Go to a secluded place, sit on deerskin, stare at the tip of your nose, chant Om, eat the fruits and berries, put the life air in your Agya chakra, and Arjuna goes, oh, Chanchala Himana Krishna. I don't think I can do that. And he says, what happens to people who try this and fail? And after that, Arjuna doesn't keep pushing to walk away. So many times devotees think like that giving up our material duties means externally. I mean, it might for some people. There are people who externally are, vanaprastha sannyasis. Or it might mean that at a certain time of your life. It might mean that for you 30 years from now. But sannyas is not just a color and a danda. It's a mentality. Be a sannyasi. Krishna's house, Krishna's jivas. Is that all right? You happy? Can you try that? Will you do it perfectly today? No. But start working towards it, okay? And sometimes you'll mess up. And when you mess up, then you'll know the problem is I'm messing up. Oh, I was seeing myself as a wife instead of as a soul. I forgot that I'm actually working for Krishna's company. Yeah? And you'll remember, and then you go, oops. Okay, any other questions? Yes, Prabhu. There's two mics, actually.
Hare Krishna. So Mataji, this is regarding, like you were saying, how to see Krishna in all different things. So being raised in our families and then later on in ISKCON, I feel that it's easier to see connection of Krishna in Prakriti, in different places. But I'm confused that we have heard so much about the holy name for last 25, 30 years, but still we don't see Krishna there. We are able to see Krishna in the Prakriti, in the Devatas, but when it comes to seeing Krishna in the holy name, so where is the gap? How do we bridge that gap?
Maybe chant with people who can see Krishna in the holy name. Prabhupada talks about chanting attentively means as soon as you chant Hare Krishna, immediately you feel the presence of Krishna. So if you are actually expert in seeing Krishna in Prakriti, then can you feel Krishna's presence in the light of the sun in this room? Can you? Can you feel Krishna's presence of the heat of this room? Can you feel his presence in the sounds? He says, I am the sound in ether. Can you feel his presence in the sound? Can you feel his presence in your ability? Can you feel his presence in your consciousness? He says, I am consciousness. Okay. Start with what you can feel. If you're feeling Krishna's presence in the light of the sun, in the heat and fire, in the sounds and ether, in my own awareness, start before you start chanting, draw your attention to the fact that you can feel Krishna's presence there. And then in the holy name, start to talk to he whose presence you are feeling. So Prabhupada says, as soon as you start to chant Hare Krishna, you should feel the presence of Krishna. Then as soon as you feel the presence of Krishna, he said, that was a very early instruction, like 1960. So you remember how Krishna's killing a demon and the cowherd boys are encouraging him with claps. He says, otherwise for what purpose is Krishna book there? Of Krishna in everything. We have these like 2 to 5 minute meditations. How I can find Krishna. On his nails were all the stones. I always think of that when I see ladies with painted nails. How Krishna's nails are actually emeralds, and in the original fragrance of the earth. Prabhupada says, even if you have no shastra, no guru, you can find God in the fragrance of a flower. Take what you have. Okay, if I'm feeling Krishna here, then why wouldn't I want to talk to him? I'm thinking, sometimes we can feel the presence of someone who enters our room even if we don't see them, yeah? A lot of scientists have studied this phenomenon. We somehow can even sense like people behind us who are staring at us. No one quite knows how we do that. But if you're busy with something and you sense that someone has come into your room, and maybe if you're familiar enough, like blind people, they can tell who's entered by the sound of their footsteps. So if you're able to sense who's entered your room, and if it's someone you like and you want to talk to, then what are you going to do as soon as you sense their presence? You're going to talk to them, and then you'll see how Krishna is there in his name. But I would also say associate with people who are experiencing that, and when you are chanting in kirtan or in japa,
means more than 2, so.
More than 2, okay.
Yeah,
but
so
I took a long time with her question.
Yeah, but we are following what Kanai Thakur Prabhu said. So,
Okay.
thank you. So, thank you so much, Mataji, for one of the best classes I heard from Mrs. Best. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm Dr. Best, so that's how it works.
Thank you. I am a patient, so I am very grateful. So my question is, Mataji, you told about 12:9. Mam ichhaptum dhananjaya. That is to be practiced, abhyasa. So my question is, you beautifully told about what should be our within in the beautiful question of Prabhuji about Raganuga, which is the goal. And we see Prabhupada's movement is a preaching movement. More devotees, more temples, more books, more centers, etc. At the same time, we hear Guru Mukha Padma Vakya, Chitte Tite Oriyo Aikya. So I get confused when I have to focus on one thing. So it appears to be 2 or 3. So can you please help?
We don't want more just for the numbers, And you're much more likely to get more if you have your own personal quality. The more that you have an internal quality of Krishna consciousness, the more you will be able to do more. If you want to have more books and more devotees and more temples, then become more internal and more realized. And you want to have more books and more devotees and more temples to help more people achieve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, which was that everyone should develop Raganuga Bhakti. That's what Krishna Das Kaviraj says, isn't it? We're all reading the same books, yeah? That's what he says. Am I making this up? That's what Prabhupada wanted. He would say over and over again, don't stay on the Prakrita Bhakti platform. Go up to at least the Madhyama platform. So we're supposed to be, it isn't more than one thing. It's one thing. Get everybody to join our Krishna Prema business. But you have to join also. So if I'm not, like Prabhupada said, highest principle is to save others, higher than that is to save yourself. You should love Krishna. Well, do you love Krishna? I don't know. I see it as all one thing. My working on my own internal development is not just for me, as His Holiness Pure Krishna Swami says, it's not grab your Krishna Prema and go. You know, it's not just for me, but I'm trying to become a real devotee. So far I've been astoundingly unsuccessful at that, but I'm trying to become a real devotee so that I can help Srila Prabhupada in his mission of more. And I don't want just to help in a mission of more in numbers, I want to help in a mission of more in quality. And it doesn't have to be an either numbers or quality, although there is that time that Prabhupada said, now just boil the milk. You know, if we're just working on quality and not more, then we stop being a preaching movement and we stop having any life, which has happened in other branches of our sampradaya. And if we just work on more and more and more and more and more, and we don't work on quality, then more for what? And people will become disappointed. So they'll come because we have these big promises, but if we don't work on the quality, they'll leave. They'll say, I'm not getting what I came for. It's not, you follow? No? Is that all right? It's all one thing. My own internal Krishna consciousness affects my ability and potency to preach. And also, you know, what's really nice is that Krishna says there's no one more dear to he than one who preaches the Bhagavad Gita. So I'm kind of counting on that one, you know. But when we serve in Mahaprabhu's mission and we serve in Srila Prabhupada's mission, then we're a lot more likely to get that invitation. Then we're going to get much more help to go deeper. Just like we're talking about in Career Dharma, we talked about how much money you make depends on how charitable you are, how much charity you gave in previous lives and in this life. But it's also like that with Krishna consciousness. How much I'm sharing, how much I'm helping, it affects how Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda and Advaita Acharya and Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami and Srila Raganuga Swami and all the way to Radha and Krishna and Lalita and Vishaka and Rupa Manjari, how much they're going to say, this is my person. It's all mixed, yeah? Does this make sense to everybody? I'm going out and doing the company's business. Then I'm going to get more empowered to do the company's business. And more empowered means more internal realization. And if I don't work on internal realization, how am I going to be qualified to do the company's business? Is that okay? Okay, I think we've exhausted our few, which means I've won the argument with my husband now because we just had 3. I'll write him and tell him. Thank you very, very much. And there's a nice Sanskrit verse, eventually I'll learn the Sanskrit, that whatever good you found here is from my Guru Maharaj, whatever bad you found here is my responsibility. Please take the good and leave aside the bad. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So let us thank Her Grace Urmila Mataji by once chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. We'd like to request Mataji to please keep time for us here. We generally have a big program on a Sunday morning. We have close to 600 devotees who are in the temple hall here. So next time if we can have you on a Sunday, that will be a great fortune for us. Thank you. And Mataji's books are there behind on the table. So those who want to have those books, Krishna Meditations and Dr. Best, and there are many more.
Well, we have just two. We have just the two new ones.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
Am I allowed? So the Krishna Meditations, this is a open anywhere, read for 5 minutes kind of book, richly illustrated. If you know Nadia Mani, married to Amala Harinam, who's the Kirtanier, so she did the illustrations, and these are how to be aware of, to have the material world go away, and to find Krishna everywhere. And this is from the Gita, the Bhagavatam, and the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And then
Help her.
this one. So this is 6 years of research myself and my co-author, Dr. Ruchira Dutta, a.k.a. Rukmini Devi Dasi, not my god sister Rukmini. So my PhD's in education, hers is in mathematics. She's also a scientist. She's done a lot of medical cancer research. So we spent 6 years researching the Gita and the Bhagavatam and about 400 empirical sources to figure out what is Krishna talking about? Chaturvarnamayashristam gunakarma vivagash. What is my nature? How do I find what is my nature? How do I use my nature in Dharma? How do I help other people to find their nature? What does an ideal society look like? So we're hoping that this will really contribute to Srila Prabhupada's mission of forming an ideal society and to connect. This is, again, having no material world. This is having your career and your sadhana be of equal spiritual value. That your sadhana enthuses your career enthuses your sadhana, and you see Krishna connected with everything you do. So we have those over there. I'm going to be teaching this in depth at GEV. Yeah, soon. So if any one of you want to take the trek there.
Hare Krishna. So today also happens to be the birthday of His Grace Ajit Madhav Prabhu. So when you go down and have breakfast, there's something special waiting for you there. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
I'll come back there to sign books. That's it. Thank you so much. That was quite a yagya to sit up here like that. To make sure it was always hot, and I'm thinking, she's sacrificing her ego. I'm coming. Just give me a sec.